Welcome to the first podcast of Good Cop. We've got this really awesome room set up where I'm bringing our experts back and just interviewing them for 20 minutes so they get more of an introduction than what we've allotted for them. And so our first guest is our expert from India. He's also our only Asian expert because most people don't know India is actually part of Asia. And it's Dr. Rohan, and I cannot pronounce his last name. So you can introduce yourself to the listeners and pronounce your last name.
So my name is Dr. Rohan De Sequeira. I am a cardiac endocrinologist. So basically we look at cardiology, diabetes, thyroid, and obesity management. And I've been working in the THR space for nearly about 6 years now and about 28 years of medical practice. I used to work in the US and now I moved back to India. So it's fun, yeah.
Yes. Well, we are on day 2. Today is Tuesday. Day 2 of Good Cop, day 2 of Bad Cop. So I was able to hang out with Dr. Rohan last night and talking with him. And it's another medical doctor in the field of vaping. And can you kind of explain to us how did you find yourself doing this and becoming an advocate?
I think the first and foremost concept is that when every doctor takes his oath, right? We have the Hippocratic oath. It is that I will do no harm. It's part of the swearing-in ceremony, right? Where you put your hand on your chest, and it's part of being a doctor. Like the first thing, I will do no harm to my patient, and that includes THR at every level, whether it's medical, non-medical, whether it's mental, physical, it doesn't matter. The concept is do no harm. That's the first sentence you say before you become a doctor. So obviously, as I started seeing patients more and more, and we started noticing that most of these patients had bad choices. So that would create a lot of issues. So basically, when I got exposed to the THR concepts, right, and I started seeing a lot of benefit with vaping or heat not burn and other kinds of things, I said, this is something which my patients would really do better with. And that's how I got into the THR space.
No, it's fantastic. And we were talking last night. Can you talk about the how many patients did you have that were able to quit smoking using vapor products?
So I have more than about 250 patients, and I have data for more than 900 patients who have quit.
900.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing. And I know, I've helped out with people do their PMTA, so I was able to do some surveys. But I mean, you actually have from the doctor's perspective, and seeing this, and seeing this reduction of harm, which is when people switch to a less harmful product. It's kind of amazing. Can you describe for our listeners the situation in India? What's the smoking situation like, and what's also the access to harm reduction like?
Right. So coming back to the hot topic, right, is that India has, I think, one of the highest rates of smoking in the world. And not only do we have highest rates of smoking, we also have a lot of patients using alternative tobacco products. There's a huge population in certain communities which use snuff, which is inhaled tobacco. We have a huge unregulated area where people have chewing tobacco. And the funny part about the chewing tobacco in India is that the tobacco is mixed with lime. Lime is something you use in cement. Right, you want the cement to harden, so you have to take the lime and then they mix the whole thing up and then they put it in their mouth. We have patients coming to us with mouth cancer, cheek cancer, lip cancer, all kinds of cancers because they just put the lime and the tobacco inside. Both of them cause cancers, and so there is a real big need of harm reduction. These kind of patients would do really well with products like snus. Or products like, which you can just put a pouch in, which is pasteurized, which has been shown to have a much lesser chances of getting oral cancer than any other form of tobacco, right? So there is a real big scope. But the main concern here is about what the policy of the government is. They're trying to do what they can. They're trying to do the best they can. They have to take care of 1.6 billion people. But part of that taking care responsibility also should include harm reduction, which at present right now is not what we see. So they came out with this complete policy and they banned all kinds of ENDS, that's electronic nicotine delivery systems, and all kinds of heat not burn and everything. It was just a blanket ban. They also banned research on that. So that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't leave any avenue open for anyone to get into that space and actually prove them wrong also. So it's a closed door policy, which I think they need to look at changing it.
Yes. Well, I mean, we just saw a couple weeks ago that the UK is banning disposables, and I like to, sorry, rest of the world, it was America that kind of caused disposables to be such a big thing because we banned flavored cartridges, and then boom, here comes disposables. So it's going to be interesting to see what the market responds to these government encroachments. Is there a big issue with like organized crime and the illicit market over in India?
Yeah. There's definitely, wherever there's an opportunity, somebody's going to take care of it. There's always, somebody looking at the other side of things. In fact, we just came to know in Panama and many of these Central American countries, most of the cigarettes sold are counterfeit, illegal. So if there's a road, somebody's going to travel on that, right?
Absolutely.
And there's always somebody to take advantage of the loophole because vapes are available everywhere in India. I mean, you go into the local stores, you'll find, of course they won't display them, but, they have a certain way of knowing where you get it. You walk into any club, you walk into any place, you walk into the market, you'll see people vaping. So it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, yeah. It's the free market, and it's really interesting that the WHO for all their efforts to reduce smoking and claiming they care about people who smoke, that they're not really understanding what the people who smoke what they need and also what they want. And I always look at like flavored vapes. I helped out a lot of small companies do their own pre-market tobacco product application, and that's the way to get through authorization in the United States. And like doing some survey data, and it's like, yeah, 55-year-olds like creme brulee vapes. I mean, go figure. Who would have thought that one? So, but then you hear from public health like, oh, my boyfriend, Dr. Brian King, who's been a thorn in my side for the past couple of years. That's just like, oh, no, flavors, adults, he still does his mantra that he's had since 2015, like, oh, flavors are what brings the horse to water, and nicotine's what keeps them coming back for more, and he's not changed that one a little bit. What does an average, I know a lot of the research I do is looking at what is the average person who smokes in any given state in America. What does the average person in India who smoke look like?
You mean to see how many cigarettes they smoke?
Well, no, just the average. But if I was going to, if you were going to, a person who, so I can tell you in America, when doing the data that I have, an average person who smokes in America is going to be white and between the ages of 25 and 44. And that's just looking at the numbers that I have. Obviously, it's not going to cover everybody, but it's, that.
I think about 20-25% of the Indian population smokes.
25, yeah.
And this is not counting.
And what do they look like? What's a typical person who smokes looks like?
So it's different because in the villages or as you go into the interiors, right, the cigarettes change into what they call as BDs, which is just rolled tobacco and they just light it up. And that's much cheaper. You get a pack of 30 for, maybe $1 or $2. Whereas if you come to the cities, you'll find most of the age group who are working in offices, they are the ones who are using it most of the time. So that's a demographic change. But if you go into the interiors of India, you'll find the population from 20 all the way up to 75. And the older generation, they smoke the BDs, while the younger ones, they buy the filter cigarettes. And even the data on the chewable tobacco is not so accurate, but in cities, that would be less than 1%. But the chewable tobacco, if you go out into the villages, that could be anywhere as good as what the people who smoke BDs are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Lower income, I'm assuming, too?
Yes.
Yeah. It's amazing that how much it's like you, and at least I know in the States, lower income, lower educated, more than likely to be a person who smokes.
Yeah, that's where the vulnerable population is, the lower income, because they don't have that many choices, right, to have a safer product. So they're going to just grab whatever they get.
Yes.
And they are the ones at the highest risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're already low income, you have less choices, and you reach out for something that's going to make your life more miserable. That's where the real need needs to be filled.
Yes.
Right? So that's where we need to work in. That's why THR appeals so much to me.
Yeah, I like THR is pretty awesome. It's a nice policy area to work on. I know when I started it a few years ago, I was like, oh God, what if these are bad? What if these comes out this? What if the long-term science comes out that these are way worse for you than cigarettes, and you were on the wrong side? But you're not, because now they're just getting really increasingly desperate to completely sow misinformation. And do you find that that's the same thing in India?
Absolutely.
That the public health is just putting out false statements? They all got Bloomberg press releases pretty much and just regurgitating that?
See, the false information or the disinformation did not just get there by itself.
Yeah.
Somebody put it there, right? Now the question is who? Somebody's working behind the scenes to make sure that they're giving all these things a bad name. You're just not going to get up tomorrow and say, oh, this is bad and that is bad. Somebody's planting information, and obviously somebody's afraid, somebody's concerned that THR is going forward, and there's going to be a concerted effort to try to put the THR population down and say, no, we are good. What you're doing is bad, and this is the information. That being said, I think part of THR also is good governance and trying to get people to understand what the real information is, but in a very polite and gentle manner, not going there and having arguments with people, but presenting them with facts, data, calm, relaxed, because you have the data, right? You're not wrong. So basically, you're not on the front, on the back foot. You're on the front foot. So I think that's what we really need to do. What I see as a very positive approach to THR would actually be, maybe an agenda to start informing doctors, because that's one population where people listen to, right? Because you don't go to a doctor and then he says something and saying, no, I'm not going to listen to you. Obviously, because he's got your back. So educating or providing the right information with good scientific backing to the medical community should be a very strong approach in THR.
Yes.
So, going on stage and shouting to 10 people who are not going to see 5 patients is not going to make any sense, because I can sit and talk, or I can shout from the rooftops and nobody's going to listen to me, right? But if you go to a doctor and he has the right information, that makes a very positive change.
Absolutely. It's a good point. I find it kind of amazing that the WHO is actually advocating for tobacco harm reduction products to only be accessible through prescription. So you have to go to your doctor to get permission to use this. But could you imagine why aren't we doing that for combustible cigarettes? Could you imagine having to go to your doctor and be able to be prescribed a cigarette? And it makes no sense to me. We know these are less harmful, but the WHO, the World Health Organization, that's in your name, is impeding on adult access to less harmful alternatives. It's just mind-boggling. I just can't get beyond it right now. So we're about to wrap up on this. I told you they were going to be quick and everything. Do you have any last thoughts? You got any? A couple things. What would you like to say to the WHO? And then what also could you say to our listeners, whether they be consumers, policy people, the other scientists like yourself, and moving into the future?
Just 2 words. Be open.
Be open.
Because right now everything is looking closed, right? Right from the conference to the attitudes to not allowing people with any, alternative ideas than yours into the venue. That's like, it's a closed door policy. Looks to me like the Twilight Zone, Something's going on, but be open, right? And be inclusive. Those are 2 words I would like to just tell
Inclusivity. Them. I can pronounce it today.
Yeah, look at that. Inclusivity.
Yes. It would be nice if they would be open. So, yeah. And what, any advice to consumers, or, my advice is always just keep going on, just keep on swimming. We'll get there eventually.
Right, exactly. We shall overcome.
Yes, and we shall overcome. Well, thank you, Dr. Rohan, and also thank you for coming out to Good Cop. We're really excited to see you on some panels, and you always know I'm an open book, so you can always come to me.
Thanks, Lindsay. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and being part of this wonderful conference here. The Good Cop, Bad Cop. I love the name, right? It's like amazing. We know. That's the stroke of genius, actually. Good Cop, Bad Cop.
I give it all the credit goes to my boss. He's the one who branded it. So yeah.
Big high five to David here for that.
Yes, David, who's put together a really amazing conference. So.
True. Absolutely. We'd like to see more of these now.
Yes, we're gonna have to do more of them, I'm sure. So
I'm glad he hijacked the hashtag for the WHO.
We usually do every year.
Yeah, that's
actually.
good.
All right, well, listeners, sorry we got a little bit off guard at the end of it. Thank you for listening to us, and make sure that you tune into other episodes of our Good Cop, Bad Cop podcast with the experts. Thanks.
Thanks.